We are live. The rules of diplomacy have just been shredded. Air Force One, or rather, the Canadian equivalent, Can Force One, has just touched down in West Palm Beach under the cover of darkness. And the geopolitical ground beneath North America is shifting violently at this very second. This is not a state visit. This is not a scheduled summit. This is a rescue mission. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the leader of the G7 nation to the north, has effectively scrambled his own jet in a desperate last-ditch attempt to save the Canadian economy from total annihilation. We are tracking the motorcade right now, moving towards Mar-a-Lago, and the atmosphere is not just tense, it is radioactive. What you are witnessing is unprecedented in modern US-Canada relations. Usually, these meetings take months of planning, lower-level Sherpa negotiations, and carefully drafted communiques. Tonight, there is no script, there is only panic. The catalyst? A single post on Truth Social that has sent shockwaves from Ottawa to Mexico City. President-elect Donald Trump has threatened a devastating 25% tariff on ALL products entering the United States from Canada and Mexico. Not 5%, not 10%, 25%. This is the nuclear option of trade warfare. The accusation? That America's closest neighbors are failing to stop the flow of illegal migrants and lethal fentanyl. And tonight, Justin Trudeau is literally flying into the lion's den to plead his case before the clock runs out. Let's analyze the sheer magnitude of this moment. For over a century, the U.S. and Canada have shared the longest undefended border in the world. We share NORAD, we share intelligence through the Five Eyes, and our economies are so integrated that a car part crosses the border 7 times before the vehicle is finished. But tonight, that special relationship feels like a relic of the past. By threatening a blanket 25% tariff, Trump isn't just negotiating, he is holding the Canadian economy hostage. Economists are already crunching the numbers, and they are terrifying. A 25% duty on Canadian energy, lumber, aluminum, and manufacturing would slash Canada's GDP by an estimated 2.6%. That is not a recession, that is a depression-level event. The Canadian dollar would crater. Inflation in the US would spike as energy costs soar. It is mutually assured economic destruction, but the message from Mar-a-Lago is clear. America first means everyone else comes second, even the polite neighbor to the north. We are receiving details about who is on this emergency flight. It's not just Trudeau. He has brought his heavy hitters, including Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc and Chief of Staff Katie Telford. Why LeBlanc? Because this isn't just about trade anymore, it's about the border. Trump has explicitly linked trade privileges to border security. The Canadian delegation is arriving with binders full of data, ready to argue that the northern border is not the southern border. They will point out that visa overstays are different from caravans, and that fentanyl interdiction is high. But will facts matter in the gilded ballroom of Mar-a-Lago? Trump has surrounded himself with hawks. We know that Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary nominee, and Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor pick, are likely in the room. These are men who view trade deficits as national security threats. Trudeau is walking into a room where the default assumption is that Canada has been ripping off the United States for decades. Let's go deeper into the psychology of this meeting. Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump are polar opposites. One is the poster child of liberal internationalism, climate action, and multilateralism. The other is the avatar of populist nationalism and transactional diplomacy. In Trump's first term, their relationship was rocky. Remember the G7 in Charlevoix where Trump called Trudeau very dishonest and weak after he left? That was a diplomatic spat. This is an existential crisis. If Trudeau fails tonight, if he leaves Mar-a-Lago without a carve-out or a pause on these tariffs, his political career at home, already hanging by a thread, could be over. But more importantly, the structural integrity of the North American economy could collapse. The USMCA, the trade deal that was supposed to guarantee stability, is effectively being bypassed by emergency executive powers. This signals the end of the rules-based order we've known since World War II. And here is the most explosive detail leaking from inside sources. There are reports, and we are working to verify the context of a joke made at the dinner table. Sources say that when Trudeau pointed out that tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump retorted that maybe Canada should just become the 51st state, and Trudeau could be its governor. Let that sink in. Even if said in jest, it reveals the power dynamic. It reveals a mindset where Canadian sovereignty is secondary to American economic dominance. The Canadian delegation reportedly laughed nervously, but back in Ottawa, that comment is going to land like a bomb. It reinforces the fear that Canada is no longer a partner, but a vassal state in the eyes of the incoming administration. We also need to talk about the energy sector. Canada is the largest supplier of oil and electricity to the United States. If Trump slaps a 25% tariff on Canadian oil, gas prices in the U.S. will jump. Refineries in the Midwest, which are configured for heavy Canadian crude, will face chaos. It is a double-edged sword. Trudeau's team is undoubtedly using this as their ace card tonight. They are likely saying, Mr. President, if you tax us, you tax the American driver. But Trump's strategy has always been to accept short-term pain for long-term leverage. He is betting that Canada will blink first. He is betting that Trudeau, facing an election soon and plummeting poll numbers, cannot afford a trade war. Look at the domestic reaction in Canada. It's panic. The premiers of the provinces, Doug Ford in Ontario, Danielle Smith in Alberta, are demanding a Team Canada approach, but they are also preparing for war. There is talk of retaliatory tariffs. There is talk of cutting off energy exports. But let's be real. Canada has a population smaller than California. In a trade war of attrition, the elephant crushes the mouse. Trudeau knows this. That is why he is in Florida tonight, hat in hand, trying to charm, cajole, or convince the president-elect to back down. He is trying to leverage the personal relationship, hoping that the dinner diplomacy that worked partially in the first term can work again. But this is 2024 over 2026 Trump. This is a presidency with a mandate, unencumbered by re-election concerns, and focused on legacy. The America First doctrine is being applied with ruthless efficiency. The alliance is not ended, but it is being rewritten. The era of automatic friendship is over. The era of transactional survival has begun. If Canada wants access to the U.S. market, it will have to pay a price either in tariffs or in massive concessions on defense spending and border policy. The 2% NATO spending target, expect that to be a non-negotiable demand tonight. The digital services tax, that's on the chopping block. As we watch the lights of Mar-a-Lago from across the intracoastal waterway, we are witnessing the physical manifestation of a world order changing. The old alliances, NATO, G7, NORAD, are being stress tested like never before. Trudeau's flight tonight is a symbol of the new reality. Power is concentrated in Palm Beach, and the rest of the world must make the pilgrimage to kiss the ring. Whether Trudeau emerges from that dinner with a deal or a death sentence for the Canadian economy remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The U.S.-Canada alliance we grew up with, the boring, stable, predictable friendship, it is gone. We are in uncharted waters now, and the sharks are circling. Stay tuned, because the fallout from this dinner will define the next 4 years of North American history.